In this video we are comparing the pros and cons of the Sony A7C versus the Sony ZV1 along with some audio comparisons. To me, these two cameras are the most interesting in Sony's current lineup, so I hope you enjoy this video and be sure to subscribe for part 2 and potentially part 3 of this overall comparison. Okay, I think now we're just about done with the A6300. Thank you for filming my intro, A6300, although I do wish you had a flip screen, like your newer, smaller brother, cousin, I don't know, distant relative. Before the rest of this video continues, you might have noticed that the audio from the Sony ZV1 in the previous footage sounds a little bit weird. That is because, for some reason, before shooting that video, I accidentally switched on the wind noise reduction filter, which has caused the audio to sound super compressed. So just for reference, this is what the Sony ZV1 audio should usually sound like, and I'm going to shoot a little bit more just so you guys can hear what it actually sounds like without that wind noise reduction filter turned on. And there's a little section coming up in a little bit. I apologise, I'm actually going to re-record it now just so you can actually hear it as it normally should be. I'm still a big fan of this A6300. It shoots 4K at 100 megabytes a second, 1080p up to 120p, although the battery sucks, so I'm always running it off of an Anker power bank. But now for the remainder of this video, we're going to be shooting either on this here Sony A7C, either with this 28-75 Tamron lens f2.8, or with the 17-28mm 2.8, or it's going to be on this Sony ZV1, which I picked up just the other day, and honestly, it's blown my tiny little mind. Now before we get into what each of these cameras do better than the other one, I would first like to compare the baseline similarities and why I think these cameras are worth comparing in the first place. There are so many mosquitoes out right now. Mozzies, here in Yorkshire, don't talk soft. So let's talk about what's similar about these cameras. 1. They're both made by Sony. 2. They both came out in 2020. 3. They have a flip screen, which is amazing for viewing yourself while you're filming. It makes everything a lot easier when you make YouTube videos or you're working in a small team. Number 3, they each have Sony's updated colour science. I'm currently using a custom Cine 2 profile on both of these cameras to get hopefully a pretty near colour match. Same with the A6300 at the beginning of this video. Number 5, they both have Sony's improved autofocus, which you can see working on my face at the moment, although I changed the settings on this from responsive to normal, and I think I might want it back on responsive. The A7C, however, is honestly flawless. I've never had any problems with this camera. The autofocus is insane, and oh my god, the mosquitoes around here are giant. Number 6, they each shoot 1080p up to 120 frames per second, even on this compact camera, I know. Number 7, they both shoot up to 4K 30 frames a second. This is currently on 4K 25p, and the ZV1 is currently on 1080p 25p. I will change it over to 4K 25p in a moment. I'm just trying to conserve battery. They each have an external mic input, which you can see is currently in use on the A7C, but on the Sony ZV1, we are currently rocking the little wind muff that comes on the top of the camera. And number 9, they are both incredibly small. The Sony A7C is probably the smallest full-frame hybrid camera in its class, only smaller. The only smaller camera I can think of is at the Sigma FP, which is not really a photo camera and also has many problems. It's tiny and I love it. The Sony ZV1 is genuinely a compact camera, but with 4K resolution, insane slow-mo features, and a flip-out screen. What more could you want? This is the first time I've been able to put a camera up on a tree since back in the day. DSLRs and mirrorless cameras are just way too heavy. But now, let's talk about some differences between the two. Now let's get into the unique things about the Sony A7C. Number one is that it comes with a full frame sensor compared to the ZV1's 1-inch sensor. This is obvious, and I know we all know this, but that makes a massive difference, but that also contributes in a big way to the price difference. The Sony ZV1 is currently about £600 to £700, whereas the A7C is around £1,800 to £2,000. So that is 1/3 the price of this, and honestly that blows my mind. Number two is the dedicated EVF. By the EVF I mean this little viewfinder back here. I don't use them that often, but if that matters to you, this has got one, this hasn't. Number three, it can give you the ability to crop from a full frame into an APS-C size image, which can give you a better reach on some smaller, wider lenses. Number four, it has the interchangeable lens mount of the Sony EMount, which gives you access to all of Sony's EMount lenses, as well as a very adaptable mount, so you can use things like Canon EF lenses or some vintage lenses. Number five, something that's very niche to me right now, is a proper strap mount compared to the ZV1. I had a problem mounting my Peak Design anchor onto the ZV1 earlier today, so I've come up with a bit of a DIY hack, whereas the Sony A7C has its own dedicated strap mounts. I've actually removed them and then put it inside this small rig cage, which then has its own sort of bulkier strap mount that also helps me sort of build out the camera a little bit, because, you know, I have big hands. Number six, the camera looks professional in a certain kind of way. Because you are carrying larger lenses on the interchangeable mount, if you're working with clients outside of YouTube and things like that, then you actually have a bit more of a presentable, professional look compared to like rocking up with a compact camera to a client gig, which you probably would not do. Number seven, the Sony A7C has very good battery life. These new improved Sony batteries are absolutely insane. One of them will get you through about 2 hours worth of 4K continuous shooting. Number eight, when used with something like a small rig cage, the camera can be built up into a pretty decent little video rig, which you can mount monitors onto, microphones, and top carry handles that will give you a bit of a bulkier setup, if that is something you're interested in. For me personally, I prefer lightweight stuff, hence the investment in the ZV1, and I think overall that's a better choice. Then the flip side of that, you can actually take all of this stuff off and turn it into a pretty nice little street camera. Something that's a very small camera body with a little pancake lens or a little prime lens, like a 50mm on there, and then you've got quite a nice discreet bit of kit for just things like street photography, capturing bits of B-roll. And number 10, something which I'm going to put to the test in a second, is it's got better image quality, or does it? Fucking hell. Oh my god. Okay, I must do this next section on the move because I'm currently being eaten alive by mosquitoes in Yorkshire. Why are there mosquitoes in Yorkshire? Okay, the uniqueness of the Sony ZV1. Number one, high frame rate recording settings, up to 1000 frames a second, might I add. Number two, genuinely tiny as hell, smaller than my iPhone 11. Literally fits in your pocket. One sec. See, right now, it's in my pocket. It's insane. We love it. Don't turn on. Oh, don't drop your iPhone either. Number four, a built-in 24-70 optical zoom lens with an f-stop of 1.8 at the wide end, down to 2.8 for pretty much the rest of the focal length. Number six, this isn't really a positive, but a pretty bad battery life. I mean, so far I've only used it a little bit here and there. It's not great at all. Like, just setting up the menu system, I managed to burn through about 2/3 of battery, so buy a few more, carry them with you. Number seven, something which I mentioned earlier, it costs literally 1/3 the price of the Sony A7C. So if you are considering one of these for vlogging or just for general content creation, and you don't have a need for like a more professional image, more flexibility, honestly, I would just go for the ZV1. The A7C is much more like, if you're an enthusiast, you need lots of kit, you want to spend about £1,000 on a lens, then by all means, buy this setup right here. Number eight, you can film while you're driving! Whoa! Number nine, genuinely a massive bonus, similar to what I mentioned in this Fuji X100S video, is no one thinks you're a serious photographer, which can be a very good thing so as not to attract attention and not to get chased off by security guards when you're on private property. And number 10, sort of carrying on from number 9, it makes you look like someone's dad on holiday. So if you don't need any more dad energy like me, then maybe don't pick it up. But for me personally, it's actually a massive win. I just want to be able to shoot 4K and slow-mo without people telling me off for carrying a camera. So the fewer lenses you have to bring and the fewer big tripods you have to bring, the less people are going to chase you off and the more stuff you can film. I am going to leave it there for this video. Come back for part 2 where we'll be comparing the overall image quality of these two cameras along with the high frame rate modes and using them both with Catalyst browse stabilization. I will see you in the next video.